I have often talked about 6 degrees of separation, accidental meetings, fleeting opportunities or fleeting interactions with people that make such an impression that it stays with you for the rest of your life. And okay, over 60s sometimes live in the past. I do once in a while. But I'm reminding of a visit that I had to London several years ago. Now, as an actress, I always enjoy those impromptu moments, when I have to listen to my fellow actor and then react by my gut or fly by the seat of my pants emotionally and verbally. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it is fun and it's a growth experience. Unfortunately, though, once off the stage, I admit my skills in real life are not that great sometimes. Hasn't this happened to you? I always think of what I should have or could have said long after the encounter has happened. I create this wonderful afterplay in my head that's just great. Well, the first day of a trip to London I had a while back, I headed for Bond Street, with its very picturesque road winding along and creating a narrow pathway for some of the most magnificent shops in London. If you've ever been there, you know what I mean. They're very, very narrow sidewalks, a narrow street, and you can't get away from anybody once you start to pass them. Well, this is one of my most favorite streets in the world, but because everything is so narrow, you must walk almost touching shoulders with the other shoppers along the narrow way. As I walked from our flat at Wimpole Street, we were staying in an apartment there, all the while savoring visions swirling in my head of the wonderful credit card opportunities that lay ahead of me. I tried to ignore the man who had just popped from an art gallery and insisted walking at my pace and getting into my personal space. I really felt very uncomfortable. I was so annoyed at his arrogance. I kept my eyes straight ahead and didn't even glance his way. What a creep, I thought to myself as I finally decided to give him a less than friendly stare as I quickly crossed the street to get rid of him. Our eyes met. Well, if there had been a manhole available, I would have dived right in. Tall, tan, and oh my gosh, so gorgeous. There he was, receiving my ugly American scowl. The actor and self-styled celebrity, George Hamilton. I was so embarrassed that I almost humiliated myself more by tripping as I ran across the small street to escape from my stupidity. I couldn't get away from George and Bond Street fast enough. Well, that wasn't the end of the story. A few days later, forgiving myself for being such an idiot and my humiliating experience slowly fading, after all, I was only in London for a few days, and my desire to shop and satisfy my credit card addiction on Bond Street won. I returned to the scene of my crime. After visiting several stores, I stopped by the Maude Frison window to look at the shoe display. It was beautiful. She had all of her shoes out in the window, really very nice. Suddenly, as I was gazing at all the styles, I was aware of a presence behind me, checking to see what I was looking at. My heart almost stopped. I couldn't believe the reflection I saw in the window. Lightning had struck twice. The reflection had a familiar name attached to it. Yeah, you're right. It belonged to the one and only George Hamilton. He looked at me. "We have to stop meeting like this," he said, with his white, perfect teeth glistening within his perfectly tan smile. He added, "Husband?" Well, my mind went blank, and the following events are a little hazy in my memory, but I think I do remember turning toward him and giving a slight embarrassed giggle with my "should I lie, but I can't" honest "yes." Then what seemed an eternity, it was probably no more than just a few milliseconds, or a millisecond at least. "Too bad," he replied with a wink that crinkled the skin around his perfect eyes in his perfect face. And he was off to continue his journey down Bond Street, and I was left to think of what I should have, could have said, or wanted to say to George Hamilton. As Mark Twain said, the difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. It's the difference between lightning and the lightning.